Let's come to our most awaited moment to take ahead this conference and exhibition. Let me brief you about this event. The event is going to make us informed about the various and most needed aspects of hospital and nursing management. We have two screens in my right side. One of them is going to show our speaker's introduction, and whereas the other will showing our faculty's presentation. Our audience is going to have benefited so many experts in management field here. So it will be an event of communication at intellectual level. As we are having event on hospital management, let us not forget father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi ji, who taught us about fruitful management of work. Additionally, healthcare system is about services to human life. Gandhiji taught about respect humans. Thus, in today's modern world, Gandhian thoughts are still relevant. Gandhi Darshan and Gandhian perspective have been the areas of specific interest and studied with a deep effect on the life of Dr. P.S. Joshi. So, I would request Dr. Joshi to enlighten how Gandhian philosophy will be applied in today's healthcare environment. Dr. P.S. Joshi.
I am also not a medical doctor, but a PhD, and that also in physics, mathematics and cosmology. Einstein's gravity theory is my expertise. So there must be someone here at least who would be asking me that what are you doing here? You see, talking on Gandhi and science and so on. Well, I ended up, you see, I am actually a cosmologist and a scientist who examines the life and death of stars, you see, in the sky, and the black holes, and the fireballs, and the gamma ray burst, and so on. But it is the second time today that I am talking here. Second time, and before this, at the Gujarati Sahitya Parishad, when you see, I was given a subject. You see, I was giving this first Kaka Saheb Kalilkar lecture, and while preparing for that particular lecture, I came across the instance that Kaka Saheb Kalilkar had been showing Gandhiji, you see, the sky and the planets and the stars and the constellations, and Gandhi was very, very interested. He became very, you see, fond of astronomy, and in jail he started studying, you see, the astronomy, and I kept on asking questions on cosmology. Now, this was a novel feature for me. Why it was a novel feature for me? Because by and large in the scientific establishment there is a very common belief that Gandhi means Mahatma, the person who led the nation to freedom and so on, but what Gandhi has to do with science? In fact, Gandhi was pictured very widely immediately after the freedom as anti-science, anti-machinery, anti-industrialization, or even anti-progress to an extent. And this was very rigorously and vigorously told immediately after the freedom, you see, to the extent that in the entire national planning there was very little voice given to the Gandhian thought or the Gandhian perspective. And then as I started looking into that subject, it just turned out many interesting features came out which lots of people didn't know in India itself. That you see what Gandhi's connections were with science, and then here this time when the organizers told me to speak again on Gandhi and you see health perspective and so on, I was slightly hesitant again, just as I was on the first instant. But apni Kathiawadi bhashama, since I am in Rajkot, you see, if I use the Kathiawadi, I would say कि भाई चलो तुम्हारा हिसाब है जोखम है, I will try and come and tell you something. So, you see, all the advantage or all the blame is yours. I come and do my job. Next one. I think you can maybe keep just two side lights on and the middle one off. If this is seen. So Gandhi used to say somewhere and sometimes that the fear of disease killed more men than the disease itself. 9, 1, 9, 2. So immediately you see, this is as such, just some quotation, but if you think of it carefully, you come to know immediately, you see, that disease is not just, a patient and a treatment and a medicine and a doctor and, as we were told, or as we were hearing just now, you see big organizations and, big hospitals and you see the number of beds. The disease, you see, is very closely connected with, you see, your entire being, your entire psychology, your entire thinking. You cannot separate the body from the mind. That is the message, in a way, which is immediately given. Next one. My plan will be something like this. You see, when I think, we are in Rajkot, we are in Gujarat, and we respect Gandhi and so on. But generally, you see, people would ask this question if you go anywhere, as I was telling you. You see, I work in the Tata Institute, there are people from, all the regions from the country, and people ask this question, like what Gandhi has to do here in science at all. You see, so I would take some time, to answer the question, that was Gandhi scientific minded? And this is a very important question. You see, we are all here, you see, the scientific community. All of you are scientists in a way, even the medical scientists, are interested in health. So, was Gandhi scientific minded? That is the first question to be, you see, talked about and to be addressed. And then I will say something about the Gandhian approach to the health, and I have divided that into three, you see, three main parts, you see, which involve the Gandhian approach. First and foremost for Gandhi was love and care. Second was back to nature, and then I would like to emphasize, and I will try to give you some proofs, you see, that he was constantly engaged in scientific analysis and research all the time. I would try to take the liberty to make a few suggestions. So this is our first question. Was Gandhi scientific minded and logical at all? As I say, this is the question frequently asked and hotly debated. Firstly, what is science? You see, whenever we talk of science, whenever we talk of physics, whenever we talk of, all the research advances, then we immediately ask this question. Science is really trying to understand, you see, the universe, the cosmos as a whole. We are all observers, you see. We are here again observing, right? You are observing me. You are listening to me. I am creating some sounds. I am creating some waves, you see, and these sound waves are reaching your ears. My visions, my image is reaching your eyes, and your mind as a whole, hears me, sees me, or sees the transparencies, and as a whole you integrate a picture. When you integrate this picture, what will happen? You will make an image. You will create an understanding, an integrated picture of the entire scenario, and then you will comprehend something. You will develop an understanding, and with the development of the understanding comes satisfaction. You see, you feel a little happy, little satisfied. Yeah, here I got something. I understood something. So science is really effort to understand the universe, and our body itself is part of universe. We want to understand our body. A disease comes, and we immediately ask this question: oh, what happened to me? I was quite fine yesterday. Why this headache suddenly? Or why this is the pain suddenly? We all get very surprised, in fact, right? Frequently when the disease comes, suddenly we get very surprised. Because everything was fine, and what happened suddenly to me? You are asking a question about yourself, you don't know. And suddenly some people are struck with some grave diseases, and they say, what a shock, you see. And some people say, oh, we take it, very smoothly, this, that. But then, that shows how little we know about ourselves. When we go for treatment, this and that, I frequently, talk to our institute doctor. And once I asked him, I had, a little bit of fever. And then, I went there. He was, straight away he saw me and he started writing. Then I said, you are writing, this drugs, that is okay. Just tell me, why this happened? He just looked at me, he don't ask that question. Why this happened, why that happened, you have this, so I am going to treat you. You don't ask me why this happened. Then I said, but I want to understand this because next time I can take care. That this doesn't happen to me again. No, you are going to. He was amused. Then he was looking at me. That yeah, you people keep asking this questions, isn't it? तुम्हारा धंधा ही यही है. कुछ सवाल पूछते रहो बस. So, important point that I want to make is that all of you will ask questions. You will go to hospital. You will attend to the super speciality. You see, whatever number of beds there are, or whatever facilities or whatever machines there are, you will go there, but still, looking at the machines, you will ask yourself, where am I? What I am in for? What is going to happen? Everybody, even educated people or uneducated people, everyone is going to ask, and that is what, whenever you pursue that query logically, that is what the science is. Let us just go on. Yeah. But coming back to my previous theme, you see, Huxley was amongst the first to brand Gandhi and his movements anti-science. Huxley said Tolstoyans and Gandhiites tell us to return to nature. Because you see, I told you that Gandhi's one of the fundamental principles was returning to nature. So they ask you to return to nature, in other words, abandon science altogether and live like primitives. The trouble with this advice is it cannot be followed. Science and technology allowed human population to double, but they advocate slaughter, compared to which Timur and Genghis Khan would look trivial. And you look here, none other than the great thinker Aldous Huxley told this, about Gandhi. Next. And Nehru, at that time, responded. This is a very important historical sequence here, which is very important to understand, if we are to make real use of Gandhi. We are taking the name of Gandhi for our own benefit. We are not going to benefit Gandhi. himself. It is for our own benefit that we are discussing. Nehru responded that this is not a correct attitude, its logic may be faulty, and then immediately after the freedom, this was followed up by Indian science policy makers and scientists like Saha, who told, because we had great collaboration with Russians, you see, at that time, and we were, trying to get a lot of, big machines and help and so on from the Russians. They told that, we had as little regard for Gandhi's economic and social theories as you Russians have for Tolstoy. You see, Gandama, Gadinakwanu, that was the kind of key. Gandhi doesn't count in any of those policies. Next. So clear divisions were made. Yeah, Gandhi was useful for freedom movement, for as a religious person and so on. But he has nothing to do with science, nothing to do with planning, and in fact the entire economic policies we have followed throughout, you see, are in fact, influenced by very different forces. Essentially, the Gandhian thought was ridiculed as not really being scientific in the initial decades of our development, our planning and so on. It is only recently that more and more discussions are happening. So it is very important to decide one way or the other, was he scientific or not. Yeah, so you see there is a missing Gandhi in the science and intellectual policies of India, and then of course this Rajkot, has been home to a lot of Gandhian movements actually. You see, people who are aware of the Rajkot history, big things have happened in Rajkot. In fact, as far as the Gandhian movements, the Gandhian trends, the traditions and so on are concerned. But then, when we talk of these Gandhians and Sarvodayas and so on, there is some kind of a missing science in the whole thing. They have probably not correctly understood Gandhi, you see. Gandhi was a personality constantly evolving, constantly developing. It was so dynamic, you see. Amazing if you read more, in fact, and watch more of what he did and so on. There's so much to discuss, so much to think, and he was probably more dynamic. Let me say, at least more than me. I won't say more than any of you. Maybe you are all very dynamic people, but he was wonderfully dynamic personality. It was changing all the time. But then, when it came to understanding Gandhi, there was a lot of, gap in the whole thing. So, was he against machinery and industrialization? Always? Well, he said, you see, about the sewing machine, in fact. Okay, let us go back. Back. Yeah, he declared that this was actually really one of the useful things ever invented. Next. No, okay, I'll do it myself. Yeah. Okay, and of course, yeah, you don't know. That's okay. Yeah. You see, actually, as you know, that he discovered the charkha. Whoever has read little bit, about Gandhi would come across how much research he did on this charkha or the radio. He went sent his volunteers to villages to find out. It was his discovery really to get a symbol. He wanted a symbol which could reach the millions. Not one or two persons, you see, not only a few persons who can talk in English and converse in English and so on. He made this discovery, and then you see, in fact, those who commented, that he was always against machinery and so on, he was always very interested in developing the charkha or the the spinning wheel. And the reason, of course, for doing this was that he wanted some instrument which could reach the poorest of the poor. I mean, he was not after, it was not one of his fads or one of his, some crazy ideas that, he just stick to this particular instrument. He wanted to reach, the millions, and even today, there is considerable amount of, disparity in our country, right? A huge disparity is there. On one hand, we have, all these cars and gadgets and all those things. And still, if you go, out there, there is a lot of poverty, people still sleeping on the streets and, all these things are there. So he wanted to reach the millions, and that was the reason why. And this was his key philosophy. He wanted machines to be merely the tools and not our masters. This is very fundamental throughout his philosophy, and throughout his life he was constantly talking about this, that we don't want machines to be our masters, we want machines to be only tools. And this is immediately what was, the thoughts, this was the immediate thought that was crossing my mind. Whenever I went to, for example, a super specialty hospital, that, and I was talking with, my good friend just before a moment, Chetan Bhai, that, now with bigger and bigger gadgets, the human being is, becoming less important. It is the machines which are becoming more and more important, the instruments which are becoming more and more important, and they dominate you, they dominate your psychology, and to such an extent that charging 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 8 lakhs has become nothing now, in the medical field. In fact, the fashion is now, fashion typically establishes itself. In fact, if you charge less, then you are maybe less expert. This is how it goes actually. So it's a very interesting psychology, and that is why I think I should congratulate the organizers that of all the things they chose, the keynote discussion pertaining to Gandhi, for one thing, and then second thing, someone like me, rather than calling Narayan Desai or many eminent Gandhians, and nobody else, but who am I to talk about Gandhi? But here am I talking, and you are the judges. I have no problem. The important point was, this is the philosophy, that matters, human being at the center, and not the machines at the center. Today we have cars. How much the cars are dominating our psychology. A lawyer in Ahmedabad, I met him, a few years ago. He told me very bluntly, I have to have this car. If I don't have this particular car, then everybody will look down upon me. I can't travel in a Maruti 800. Not just car, but I have to have this particular car. So how much machines are dominating, us gradually, slowly. Similarly, in all the cases. So that is where I think it is not realized actually that Gandhi was a severe critic of modern civilization. He was a very strong critic of modern civilization. But the most important thing I want to tell you is he was not a critic of science or scientific method. There is a very interesting difference between these two. That is, the modern civilization is one thing, and the science and scientific method. In fact, scientific temper of West, he was a great supporter of scientific temper. scientific way of thinking. But then he objected to the use of scientific discoveries against humanity all the time. And this issue, this problem, we are constantly facing even today. That the use of discoveries, you see, against humanity. You see, some time ago, 5 years ago, there was a huge scandals in United States. You remember, all these banks collapsed and so on in America. And, big CEOs were, held responsible and so on. Again, they made some big economic models, you see there. And those economic models actually failed. And then these people were held responsible to misuse the economic models. So the important point is where you want to use, you see, your discoveries, your science. Having said this much, I hope I have briefly conveyed to you the basic, philosophy of Gandhi, namely that the scientific temper is absolutely welcome. We need it in all our life, throughout our, all our, actions. But then, the use of machines or the man subjugated to the, primacy of the machines, this is what he, of course, very strongly objected to. Okay, let me come to the Gandhian approach to health. Love and care, back to nature, and scientific analysis all the time. Love and care was his primary mantra. Whenever we talk of health, you see, we have to remember we are treating a human being, we heard this one word here, you see, industry, the medical industry. So, you see, yes, it is, whenever you, deal with something on a larger scale, the modern word is, you see, industry. But then, at the end of the day, you see, you are treating a human being. So, industry today in the Western model, is, the West sees the world as a market today. And they will come here also. We are now, you see, 124 crores of human beings around here. They are coming here not for, to benefit us and just to bless us. I mean, they want to do their business, and that is why the Europeans, the English people, they will again come here. They came here earlier also. So, as compared to the market approach, the Gandhian approach, one important thing, and I will give you an instance, you see. He was in a meeting in a Sabarmati ashram. Nehru and Patel and many others, you see, a very important, Congress session was going on. And one, very ordinary person, in this Mela Gela, Khadina Kapda, that fellow came running. You see, oh Bapu, I have a stomach ache. You see, I will die. You see, मैं मर जाऊंगा, please help me. And from amongst all this meeting all this, you see, people, important people, Gandhi immediately stood up and he started attending to this person. And then all these people say that, you see, this is a mad fellow, and why you are, leaving such an important meeting to attend this mad fellow. And then he said that, well, after all, I am myself somewhat mad person, and these are my friends. Attending to a poor, attending to a suffering person is my primary duty. The important meeting that we are doing is for the service of the nation, but I have to serve right in the beginning the person who has come to me. He attended to that person. So this is actually a real life instance. And then you see his serving in the plague, affected populations, his, treatments in South Africa and India, all these things are well known, and he said that tending to the ailing and sick has been very near and dear to my heart. So love has been was his first priority, and amongst his, you see, very senior years in India also, the health experiments was his constant engagement. He was all the time, you see, in fact somewhere he has said that that is my passion, that is my hobby, that is my interest, you see, treating to the ill, treating to the, tending to the care of the, suffering of the human beings, that has been my foremost interest. So, this is, you see, Parchurya Shastri. He has been attending to him. In fact, he asked him, I think many of you must be knowing, you see, his work for, Kushta Rog and all that. So it was a very, constant activity for Gandhiji. But all the same, as I wanted to emphasize to you, why, he is relevant to this particular, assembly and gathering was his scientific spirit. He said, my life consists of nothing else but numerous experiments with truth. If I can narrate them in dispassionate and humble spirit, far be it from me to claim any degree of perfectness. So, in addition to love, the scientific analysis, scientific thinking was again another topmost priority. He would never be unscientific, as I would mention later. He had a lot of debate with the Vaidyas, the Ayurveda practitioners. They used to prescribe this Bhasmas and all those in those days in a very free manner. Gandhi very strongly objected to that. Do you understand what you are giving to your patients? What you are giving them, what you are offering them, do you understand how all these things are made? What are their impact? What is their effect on the patient? If you don't understand, in the name of Ayurveda, in the name of some old tradition, don't do this. Don't do this in the name of ancient history, ancient past and all that. You must understand first, you must have the scientific understanding of what you are doing, and only then do it. And he had a long correspondence. There are too many things to, associated with his healthcare approaches. I am just giving you the glimpses. In fact, I would request Kalpit, I have written a small booklet. Maybe tomorrow or whenever he can display, then you can buy it. Gandhi and Vignan, Gandhi and Science. This small thing I have written, some 24 pages or something. You might enjoy, having a look at it. So, he was, constantly, deeply introspecting. Now, this is another, another trait that Gandhi had. We heard here, Dhaval Bhai and Rao Sahib and, other, esteemed guests. You see, they talked about different things, he talked about one thing, he said, that the, discipline and so on, but at the end of the day, it really comes to, introspection. Thinking about, ourselves, like, what you said was that the management, we shouldn't think we ourselves know everything. So again, where it can come from? Only if you introspect. Otherwise, it is always very nice to think, I know everything, no? I know everything, I can do everything, I manage everything, but only after introspection, you realize that no, I need help of someone, I am not complete, and only when we all get together, we become, something meaningful. So, that was, going into the finest and minutest details was his key strength. Sometimes we are very busy, We are so busy, we have to do so many things, we have to go here, we have to go there, we have to attend to this business, that business, and then we forget, attending to details. But it was amazing, that how many details he went into. smallest of the details he went into. The same amount of care he, offered to the smallest of the person. I gave you the instance. There are many instances I can give, but my time is limited, so I will just proceed. But, once in Varda, the latest discovery of the time, you see, the microscope was brought to him and he was told that, well, the diseases, the malaria, the this and that, they have the bacterial origin, they have the virus or whatever, and then, show me. You see, and he was shown, and with the greatest, interest he saw this. The other picture I couldn't get because of the lack of time, but then while going to England, you see, for the round table conference, he is watching through the, binocular, the telescope, the, planets and constellations in the sky. So, the openness, you see, openness in the approach was his greatest strength. And, we start getting, if I use the word, fossilized. Fossils? You have heard the name fossils? Gujarati માં શું થાય? Fossils એટલે અશ્મી એવું કંઈ આપણે કહેતા હોઈએ છીએ. But getting stagnant, it is the most dangerous disease, since we are talking here in terms of doctors and medical terminology and so on. The greatest disease which even a child starts catching is usually stagnancy. So, Gandhi was not, that way stagnant, as I was telling you. He used a telephone, he used the telescope, he was, looking at the microscope. The important point was that he was the greatest logical mind. I am no bhakta of Gandhi here. I am telling you the facts. I am showing you. What I am showing you is, whatever are the documented facts, and it is for you to decide whatever is right and whatever is wrong. Okay, my job is to put the facts to your mind, to the attention. About geometry, he said, suddenly in geometry, he talked a lot about the English, medium of, instruction also was one of his, biggest sort of concern. But then he said that when with much effort I reached the 13th proposition of Euclid, the utter simplicity of subject was suddenly revealed to me. So this is what he says on geometry. That suddenly he said, I got a great interest, a subject which only requires pure and simple use of one's reasoning power could not be difficult. This is what he says on mathematics, you see. This is what he says on geometry. Ever since, geometry has been both easy and interesting for me. So many of my scientist friends simply didn't know that Gandhi has said, this on geometry, or these are his experiences. And then, what I wanted to really